Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Zoom service of First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. My name is Birch Spick. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs, and I'm a member of our celebrant team. Our pianist this morning is Bruce Martin, and our song leader is Barb Martin. We invite you to keep your mics muted during our service and join us afterwards for a virtual coffee hour with fellowship and your favorite snacks and drinks. Before we begin, we have a quick announcement. Elaine Imlau writes that the fabulously fun food fair fundraiser has been canceled for 2020. But wait, there's more. We still need your help. Watch for information coming out this week in an all-church email, on Facebook, and in the weekly intercom about a new opportunity to build community while supporting our church financially. This morning, members of the Awakening Heart Sangha in our congregation will lead us in a service honoring the Buddhist holiday of Vesak, which Buddhists around the world will celebrate this week on May 6th and 7th. Vesak is among the holiest days of observance for Buddhists, one which commemorates the Buddha's birth, death, and enlightenment. On this day, Buddhists observe the life of Gautama Buddha in many ways, which can include devotional songs praising the three refuges of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Some people may meditate or make offerings that remind them of the impermanence of the world. As part of the Plum village tradition, members of our Sangha will share their own testimonials of Buddhism's importance in their life. As we gather together this morning, let's welcome these members of our community and the Buddhists practicing in our congregations here and around the world. Near and far, as we gather this morning, we remember that we are a community whose church is built in the homeland of the Bahoje people, known also as the Iowa, who now reside mostly in the states of Nebraska, Kansas, and Oklahoma. Wherever we may be today, let us acknowledge the first people of the lands we live in. Our opening words this morning are by the Reverend Dr. Susan Veronica Rack from a sermon she gave in 2015 in celebration of Vesak. Some think of Buddhism in rather simplistic terms, that all Buddhists do is meditate silently and that they see life as filled with suffering and pain, and the aim of meditation is nirvana, an escape from suffering. Really, every step of the practice is an ordinary, everyday activity of human beings. The more we understand the causes of suffering, the greater our intention. The wiser and more compassionate our behavior, the clearer our minds. The deeper our understanding of suffering, the stronger our intention. Over and over, on and on. Maybe you aren't personally seeking enlightenment. You are not Buddhist and do not practice. Yet the wisdom of the tradition helps us still, because we know all too well that there is pain in life, no matter how good it is, no matter how much success we have experienced, whether it be an enriching career, a well-paying and interesting job, a terrific family, raising wonderful, talented children who follow our success with their own. If we are not living this life mindfully, if we are not prepared to let it all go, we are living an illusion. We light our chalice this morning with these words. On this Sunday, we honor Vesak with our Buddhist siblings. We light this chalice that in its glow, we may remember the Buddha's own birth, death, and enlightenment. In its light, may we remember all the ways of enlightenment we seek in our own lives. Now, please join us in singing song 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Please mute your mics and we'll share the words on the screen shortly.
Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Rejoice and live. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. He didn't unmute himself. He's escaped. I can't hear you, Birch.
Birch, share the sound on the video.
Somebody's reading it.
Your microphone is muted.
You should be able to hear all of us.
Birch, can we pause the video and go back?
Yeah, we'll start over.
Yeah, thank you. Did you know that the word...
Can you hear it now?
Yes.
Okay, let's go.
Buddha means awakened one. This is a story of how the man whom we know today as the Buddha came to his awakening. The Buddha's birth name was Siddhartha Gautama, and he was a prince in northern India more than 2,000 years ago. As a child, he lived a privileged life within the palace walls and never saw sickness, death, or any type of suffering. Prince Siddhartha grew into a young man, enjoying every luxury. He married a beautiful woman and had a fine son, but he was curious about life outside the palace, so he had his chariot driver, Channa, drive him into the surrounding town. At first, they stayed on the main road, but on later visits, they drove into the side streets. On their first side street visit, Prince Siddhartha saw a very old man. On the second, he saw a sick man, and on the third, he saw a funeral procession. As he saw each of these, Siddhartha asked Channa, "Will I become old? Will I become sick? Will I die?" And each time, Channa answered, "Yes, that is part of life." On their fourth trip, Prince Siddhartha and Channa passed a man wearing a saffron-colored robe. Although the man had nothing more than his simple robe, his walking stick, and his alms bowl, he looked content. Channa explained that this was a holy man who had dedicated his life to searching for the truth. That night, while others slept, Prince Siddhartha thought about the old man, the sick man, and the dead man. All his life he had experienced great pleasure, but now he saw that life also brings suffering. He realized that everyone he knew, including his own wife and child, would experience this suffering. This is a great and noble truth, he thought. Siddhartha decided to dedicate his life to finding the truth that would end human suffering. So he left the palace to become a holy man. He joined with other holy men, trying different spiritual disciplines, some of which were extreme. At one point, he fasted so intensely that his bones stuck out through his skin. But even starvation did not lead Siddhartha to the truth, so he began to eat again. Finally, Siddhartha sat down to meditate in the grass beneath a Bodhi tree. "I will sit here until I find the truth and become free from suffering," he vowed. So he sat, and he sat, all through the day and into the night. As he sat, thoughts and feelings ran through his mind. Some were simple and ordinary, some brought him tremendous joy, and some terrified him. But Siddhartha did not leave his meditation. He was not pulled away by pleasant thoughts or scared away by frightening ones. So he discovered the second noble truth, that the cause of suffering is being attached to feelings and experiences that all come and go. As the sun began to rise, Siddhartha realized a third noble truth. There is an end to suffering. For during his meditation, he had gone beyond all suffering. He knew this beyond any doubt and did not need anyone to tell him that this was so. He had become the Buddha, the awakened one. As the Buddha, Siddhartha spent the rest of his life teaching others about four noble truths. Life has suffering. The cause of suffering is our attachment to impermanent things. Suffering can be ended. There is an eightfold path that leads to freedom from suffering, and every one of us can take it. Today, people all over the world take refuge in these truths and follow the Buddha's path. Thank you for listening to my story.
My offering words this morning are not given with Reverend Amy's usual wit and humor, and I hope you'll understand. Instead, I offer you these words on the Buddhist practice of dana. These words are by Marcia Rose, a founding teacher of the Taos Mountain Sangha in New Mexico. The Buddha taught, if you knew as I know the benefit of generosity, you would not let an opportunity go by without sharing. The Buddha taught and lived what is really a way of life, giving and receiving the practice of dana. The cultivation of dana offers the possibility of purifying and transforming greed, clinging, and self-centeredness, as well as the fear that is linked to these energies of attachment. We are only temporary caretakers of all that is provided. Essentially, we own nothing. As this understanding takes root in us, there is no getting, possessing, and giving. There is just the spaciousness that allows all things to remain in the natural flow of life. The aim and the fruit of our dana practice is twofold. We give to help and free others, and we give to help and free ourselves. In our beloved community, we receive what we give, and the generosity of this community not only sustains the work we do here, but supports the work of our community partners in social justice. Our Faith in Action partner for May and June is Alejito. The mission of Alejito is to provide programming that builds the leadership potential of Latinx youth through college preparation, career development, civic engagement, family support, and celebration of culture. First Unitarian has participated in 9 volunteer activities with Alejito since November 2018. Our 10th event was scheduled to be held in Channing Hall on April 11th. We would have again hosted the Mary E. Campos Scholarship Luncheon. Unfortunately, it was canceled due to the pandemic. We have been blessed to forge a long-term relationship with Alejito. Please support this partner through your donations. Half of our offering today will go to support the work of our Faith in Action partner, and half will go to this congregation's work within and beyond our community. You can make a donation through the link posted in the chat. May we be grateful for all that we have and for all that we can give.
As a community of care for one another, we hold space each Sunday morning for the joys and sorrows we carry with us. This is our space to be near one another and to minister to each other, however that may need to happen. Aloud or silently, speak the names of the people in your lives and in our hearts who could use a little care, and feel free to share their names in the Zoom chat box. Let our hearts also be with all those near and far, with people the world over who are in need of care and who care for their communities. May we bear witness to atrocities that flash before our eyes in quick succession, to the struggles to overcome which we have not yet seen. Now we light the candles, one for the joys we have shared, one for the names we have spoken, and one for all that remains unspoken, but is present here in our hearts.
Vesak, or Buddha Day, celebrates three major events in the life of the Buddha: his birth, his enlightenment, and his passing away. Vesak is observed each year on the Sunday nearest to the full moon of the 6th lunar month, which this year is May, although the exact date may differ from country to country. It is considered the holiest day in the Buddhist calendar. Legend states that when Prince Siddhartha was born, there were extraordinary and auspicious signs heralding his birth. They describe the sky as being clear with brilliant sunshine, flowers blooming, and birds singing. Dragons appeared in the sky, spurting 2 streams of purified water, one cool and one warm, that gently cascaded down to bathe him. At his birth, 7 lotus flowers sprung up beneath his feet as he walked. Pointing one hand to the sky and one to the ground, he said, in the heaven above and the earth below, I vow to liberate all who suffer in these 3 realms. Since that time, Buddhists all over the world celebrate his birthday by using fragrant water to bathe the image of the Buddha. This ritual improves harmony and inner balance by following these steps. Stand with respect in front of the baby Buddha statue. Fill the label with fragrant water and pour over the baby Buddha statue 3 times. While pouring the water, say the following. First pouring, may I eliminate all thoughts of greed, hatred, and delusion. Second pouring, may I cultivate good deeds, generosity, compassion, and wisdom. third pouring, may I help save all living beings from suffering. We invite you to join us now in the virtual bathing of the baby Buddha ceremony, offered on YouTube by the Hongwon-ji Buddhist Temple in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Okay, I think we're up. They don't introduce him. He's just shaking his head. Ready?
Good morning. My name is Kara Andreski. I am new to First Unitarian and new to UU. I would consider myself to be a spiritual non-creedal person. I was raised a Christian, but later in life, I explored Eastern religions. And so now I incorporate many traditions into my spiritual practice. Buddhism being one.
Hi, I'm Mike Andreski, and although I am new to First Unitarian, I've been a UU since 1996. I consider myself a humanist, but I also have explored many religious traditions and incorporate those into my perspective on life. Kara and I are newly married, and she is new to Des Moines, while I'm a native. We discovered that we wanted to return to a community of like-minded people and decided to visit First Unitarian. It was while we were attending services that we discovered Awakening Heart Sangha.
I have been a practitioner of meditation for many years. It has been a source of peace in times of trouble, a source of guidance in times when I've needed direction, and a source of connection to spirit in times of reflection. Our participation with Awakening Heart Sangha has not only been a way to connect to others within the Sangha, but also allowed for a deeper connection for us as a couple.
While neither of us consider ourselves exclusively Buddhist, we have found deeper meaning in our meditative practice since we have been part of the Sangha. Not only do we spend time in quiet meditation and group sharing, we also explore the Plum Village tradition and the teachings of Thích. I find his teachings on mindfulness and Buddhist traditions very approachable coming from my Western cultural perspective.
Participating in the Sangha has been such a positive experience that we have decided to bring it into our daily life as well. We have created a meditative space in our homes to encourage us to meditate more often. And we have also tried to include it into our practice on as often as we possibly can. Our practice has allowed us an inner peace in dealing with the uncertainty and instabilities in life, especially during this pandemic.
We have found the 5 mindfulness trainings of the Buddha that the reverence for life training speaks to us, especially in today's environment. The teaching says that, aware of the suffering caused by the destruction of life, I am committed to cultivating the insight of interbeing and compassion, and learning ways to protect the lives of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I am determined not to kill, not to let others kill, and not to support any act of killing in the world, in my thinking or in my way of life. Seeing that harmful actions arise from anger, fear, greed, and intolerance, which in turn come from dualistic and discriminative thinking, I will cultivate openness, non-discrimination, and non-attachment to views in order to transform violence, fanaticism, and dogmatism in myself and in the world.
Overall, our experience with Awakening Heart Sangha has had a very positive influence on us, both as individuals as well as a couple and as members of society. So please come and join us sometime.
And now for our meditation. American Buddhist teacher and psychologist Jack Kornfield says that what we most need right now during this time of crisis is a steady heart. Jack's guided meditation has been a great support for me lately as I find myself becoming increasingly tender-hearted. I'd like to share an adapted version with you. The pandemic of coronavirus is spreading widely, Jack says. And with it, we see collective fears and anxiety spreading. And also, among others, a deepening resolve and care. We realize how vulnerable we are as human beings and how we need to protect one another. Such difficult times call for inner steadiness and strength for ourselves and for those around us. As Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh has said, when the crowded Vietnamese refugee boats met with storms or pirates, if everyone panicked, all would be lost. But if even one person on the boat remained steady and calm, it was enough. It showed the way for everyone to survive. We become that person. We have done this before. In our blood and our DNA are 1,000 generations of ancestors who survived through wars and epidemics, depressions and famines. This is what you have been training for. And this is what you and we can offer to our children, a steady heart amidst it all. To begin this practice, take a seat in the center of your world with feet flat on the floor, steady on your cushion or chair, grounded, seated halfway between heaven and earth in this human form. Let your eyes close gently and feel down through your body the deep connection that goes into the earth. Steady yourself. Bring a mindful, loving awareness to this present moment just as it is. Now, sense your body. Become aware of any areas of tightness or tension, contraction, heaviness, or pain. Acknowledge these with a kind awareness, as if with a bow, and allowing them to be present in loving awareness, let them open more. Let them expand, release, open. And as you feel the intensity and aliveness of these sensations, difficult though they may be, gradually allow them to drain down through your body, from your head and neck, down through your shoulders and arms, through your torso and pelvis, and down your legs and feet back into the earth. Allow the heaviness and tensions, contractions and tightness to move in your body and drain into the earth. And as you do, thank them. Thank you for trying to protect me. I'm steady now. I'm okay. Thank you. Feel the body open and release, grounded, steady. And now, as you've sensed your body, bring your attention to sense your heart. And notice in this particular time of difficulty, any fears or sadness, grief or anger or worry for your family, for yourself, for friends, for the young and the old, for the caregivers on the front line, and the essential workers. Acknowledge all these emotions with a bow of kindness. Let them be held in loving awareness. Let them intensify or open, expand, and release as they wish. Trust that you can allow yourself to feel, and let the feelings themselves move through you and open, and bring a greater sense of spaciousness as they do. You are not resisting them, but thanking them. Thank you for trying to protect me. I'm steady now. Feel the growing steadiness and spacious presence of loving awareness. Relax into it. And now, turn your attention to sense your states of mind. Acknowledge if there are racing thoughts, doubts, scattered mind, fearful thoughts. Let your loving awareness be like vast space that can hold these thoughts. Like clouds that appear in the space of mind. As if to bow to them, you can acknowledge them gently. O doubts, O fears, O racing mind. Let them be present without resistance. And as you allow them to open and move, you can thank them. Thank you for trying to protect me. I'm steady now. I'm okay now. And finally, let your awareness sense yourself as a great tree. Your roots go down from your body deep into the earth, steady and strong. Feel the depth of connection, how it strengthens you and steadies you. Notice too, as your body breathes, you are like the breathing of the tree itself, rooted in the earth, leaves exchanging oxygen and carbon dioxide, breathing in the wide open sky. You are the great tree, standing and rooted in the midst of it all, connected to the earth below, and above, vast, like space, like sky, time and eternity. Rest as this great tree with a peaceful and steady heart. Let yourself sense how you can embody this steadiness and peacefulness where you are just now, at home, with your family and friends, amidst those who are at ease and those who are frightened and struggling. You can be the center of calm in your community and as you move through the world. You can be that one on the boat. You can be the great rooted tree. You can bring your sense of calm and steadiness wherever you go.
Good morning. I remember exactly when my meditation journey began. It was December 31st, 2007, and I found myself doing what I do every New Year's Eve. I look for a New Year's resolution, and this year was no exception, and I realized I had been thinking a lot throughout the past year about learning to meditate. So I decided my New Year's resolution for that year was going to be to learn to meditate. Well, when January hit, I began searching for a class that would offer meditation. And as it turned out, I didn't have to look too far because the first Unitarian church was offering a course that year. I was thrilled. I signed up immediately, and the day that the course began, I was probably the first person to show up and extremely eager to start my journey with meditation. I was met with the most wonderful teacher, but I must say that my most favorite part of the class was he would bring his traveling library, and he encouraged all the students to take a book, read it, and then bring it back the next week. Well, I took this really seriously, along with my practice. Every week I took out a book, I read it from front to back, and I took notes. I took a lot of notes. And one day I decided that I wanted to look through my notes to see what I'd been learning. And what I realized in my many notebooks of notes, this phrase kept showing up almost on every page. And the phrase was to live in the moment. I kept asking myself, do I live in the moment? What actually is the moment? And do I even know the moment's there when it is there? Is it like an aha moment? So I decided to make an addendum to my New Year's resolution. By the close of that summer, I was going to learn to live in the moment. So the summer began, and about 2 weeks into the summer, I was driving up my driveway, getting home from work in the afternoon, and my daughter came running down the driveway. She was 10 years old, and her eyes were as big as saucers, and I could see that she was holding something in her hand. When she got closer to the car, I noticed that there were 3 baby crows in her hand, and I looked down, and these birds were so beautiful. They were so new, their eyes were still closed, their little beaks were staring up at the sky, and they were hungry. My daughter told me she found them in the front yard, and they must have fallen out of the tree during the storm the night before. She said, "Please, Mom, can we raise them? They're so hungry, and their mom's gone." I said, "Let's go in the house. We'll call around and find out how to raise a crow, or maybe someone will raise them for us." We got in the house and we called around. And to my dismay, nobody would actually take the wild animals. But we did get good advice about how to raise crows. All we needed to do was go to the grocery store, buy some puppy chow, bring it home, put it in a big bucket with some water, stir it up, and start feeding the crows. It was kind of amazing. We got the puppy chow, we stirred it up, and we started feeding the crows, and they were happy. We did this around the clock, though. These crows were like little baby humans. They needed to eat often. We told everybody in the neighborhood, all the kids could come by, feed the crows for us, because it was a big process. It was around the clock feedings. But the crows did begin thriving. They were growing, their eyes opened up, and we eventually taught them how to dig for worms in the garden, how to feed themselves, and they were really doing well. We even, if you can imagine, taught them how to fly, which was an amazing moment in itself. Well, these crows were getting really big, and every day, my favorite part of my summer was coming home from work in the afternoon, sitting out on my back patio, and the crows would fly down from wherever they were and perch themselves on my patio and just sit there around me. And we sat there in the sun quietly every afternoon. They would just stare at me. These crows had these most beautiful blue eyes. They were like two blueberries stuck to the side of their heads. And their most beautiful black feathers would just shine in the sun. And we would sit there quietly every afternoon for about an hour, and they would just stare at me. And somehow I was convinced these animals were trying to tell me something. I really wish they could talk. Now, my meditation practice was going really well, and this live in the moment thing, I wasn't really quite sure about. But one day the neighbor called, and she said, "Mary, we're having some trouble in the neighborhood. These crows are becoming a real nuisance." And I kind of knew that was true. They would leave our yard and fly to some of the other yards, and while they were having barbecues, they would try to steal food and such. So I knew that probably our crows days were over. So I talked to the kids, and we decided the very next day we would take the crows far enough away so they could start their lives. Well, that very next day, I got home from work, and I did what I always did. I got out of the car, went around to the back, and this day, I saw the crows waiting for me for our silent little chat in the backyard, and I raised my hand up to wave to one of the crows. And one of these big, beautiful birds flew down and landed right on my arm. It was full grown now, and it was beautiful. It just sat there with its talons stuck in my arm, and I stared at it. I just wished it could tell me what it was trying to tell me. Well, they flew over to the patio and waited for me, and we got there, and we did our afternoon little sit together. It was beautiful, and I knew it was the last one we'd ever do. So the kids got out the crate. We put the crows in the crate, and we drove off to Brown's Woods because we knew that would be a really beautiful place to set them free. When we got there, we opened the crate, and the crows just sort of hobbled out and looked around and looked back at us. And we told them they could go now. So they flew up into the trees, and they were out there in the wilderness, and I was sort of torn. I knew it was what had to happen, and I knew they were free now. And it was beautiful. They flew off, and we went back home. The next day I was on my computer, and I got some email from a friend asking me how my summer went. And I said, I had a really fabulous summer. I have this great meditation practice I started, a great class that I'm taking. And by the way, I also raised some crows. And she said, "You raise crows? You know, when animals come into your life like that, they usually bring a message." And I said, "I know. I sure wish I could have figured out what they were trying to tell me, because we sat every day together, and I thought they were trying to tell me something." She said, "Well, let me do some research. I have some book on shamanism, and I will get back to you. I'll see what crows bring to you." So a couple hours later, I checked my email, and she told me, yes, she had done some research, and she sent me a passage from one of her shaman books. And I was very stunned when I read the passage. The passage said that the shamans believe that when crows come into your life, they bring a message. And the message is, live in the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Our special music this morning is a video recording of the discourse on love from the Sutta Nipata, chanted by Sister Tang Yam.
discourse on love. He or she who wants to attain peace should practice being upright, humble, and capable of using loving speech. He or she will know how to live simply and happily with senses calm, without being covetous and carried away by the emotions of the majority. Let him or her not do anything that will be disapproved of by the wise one. And this is what he or she contemplates. May everyone be happy and safe, and may all hearts be filled with joy. May all beings live in security and in peace. Beings who are frail or strong, tall or short, big or small, invisible or visible, who are near or far away, already born or yet to be born, may all of them dwell in perfect tranquility. And no one do harm to anyone. Let no one put the life of anyone in danger. Let no one out of anger or ill will wish anyone any harm. Just as a mother loves and protects her only child at the risk of her own life, cultivate boundless love to offer to all living beings in the entire cosmos. Let our boundless love pervade the whole universe, above, below, and across. Our love will know no obstacles. Our heart will be absolutely free from hatred and enmity. Whether standing or walking, sitting or lying, as long as we are awake, we should maintain this mindfulness of love in our own heart. This is the noblest way of living. Free from wrong views, greed, and sensual desire, living in beauty and realizing perfect understanding. To practice boundless love will certainly transcend birth and death. Ete sache vachene soti deo tu sabada. Ete sache vachene soti deo tu sabada. Ete sache vachene soti deo tu sabada.
Good morning. In the story of the Buddha's awakening, Prince Siddhartha's encounters with aging, illness, and death bring him face to face with the impermanence of life. Truly nothing in our material world remains the same forever. It is this concept of impermanence and the need to accept the inevitability of change that makes my Buddhist practice especially meaningful to me. I became interested in Buddhism about 8 years ago when I found myself in a tsunami of stress. I was caring for my mother, who was in the advanced stages of Alzheimer's, while working full-time and trying not to ignore my own family. As I tried to pace myself, I wondered whether meditation might help. I'd tried various types of relaxation techniques in the past, but this situation seemed to call for some heavy-duty reflection. The church I was attending at the time didn't have a meditation group, but with the help of some books, podcasts, and YouTube videos, I began a meditation practice. Forcing myself to make a full stop to practice mindfulness, even if just for a few minutes, made a huge difference in my ability to deal with each day's challenges, which was exactly what I'd hoped for. But learning about Buddhist philosophy behind my meditation practice had a benefit I didn't expect. It helped me to make sense of the impermanence of life. Good health or illness, youth or old age, life itself, nothing lasts forever. The same cycle of life that was taking my mother away from me had also given me my beautiful daughter. As I watched my mother's mind retreat and my daughter's mind develop, I realized that everything that was happening was part of the same process, and that the joy of greeting a new life could not exist without the sorrow of saying goodbye to an old one. One of the Buddha's teachings, called the 5 Remembrances, sums up the impermanence of life. I am of a nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of a nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape ill health. I am of a nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love is of a nature to change. I cannot escape being separated from them. The only things that truly belong to me are my actions. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. They are the ground on which I stand. The Buddha did not mean this teaching to be pessimistic, but as a reminder to focus on the present, giving our full attention to the people and experiences we love while they are still with us, and finding the joy that is available in each moment. I find the Buddha's teachings on impermanence especially meaningful as we face today's challenges. Some of us are saying goodbye to people we have loved. Others are facing an uncertain economic future. And I think all of us are appalled at the rips in our social fabric that the virus is revealing. But even in the midst of chaos, our actions in the present still belong to us, and we can use them to create a firm ground on which everyone can stand. So when it all seems too overwhelming, pause, take a deep breath, and see if you can find that moment of stillness that is the beginning of awakening. Thank you.
We extinguish this chalice and remember that all things come to an end. Our service today is ending, and our paths towards enlightenment unfold before us. Please join us in singing song 1031, Filled with Loving Kindness. The words will be on your screen. Hold it all lightly. This aching, beautiful world that surrounds us, the painful reminders of indignity and evil that abound too. Let every gesture of appreciation and love be felt. To be able to do this in the face of harsher realities is one of the greatest capacities we have as human beings. Even the smallest appreciation, the short moment of, aha, yes. Let this awaken us to what is possible. Let it fill our hearts with beauty and possibility, courage and hope. We must hold everything lightly, for everything passes, and then we can more fully embrace the world. For life and love abound everywhere.
Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere. Its temple space, its shrine of the heart, its creed of truth, its ritual
This service has ended. May we go forth to embrace more fully this world. Awakening Heart Sangha is not meeting in person at this time, but is meeting through Zoom. For more information or to join a meditation meeting, please email awakeningheartsangha, all lowercase, all one word, @gmail.com. If you want to stick around for coffee hour, please feel free to turn on your mics and cameras and join us. Thank you for being with us this morning.